Alright guys, you know what time it is, we're back again with some more leaks. This is a video by Ebonheart. They data mined Classic Plus map changes, and it's wild. I did see this tweet by Steven, I sent it to a couple of people as well. Hopefully somebody can make some sense out of it, because I can't. Well, actually I could. I could see a couple of things that I mean, it looks like new zones being added in Classic Plus. It is just not sure which ones. I do have an idea about a couple of them. Let's see if Ebonheart is thinking the same thing that I'm thinking here.
For those of you that aren't aware, there has been massive Classic Plus leaks for Project Camelot, and these leaks in particular have leaked map changes to the Classic world. And
is bro sitting in a jacket, but like bare? What?
to give us our first peek at the actual.
Oh no, I do see. I think I see a tank top underneath. This is like you come home from the gym and you have a business meeting. You throw on a jacket on your gym wear. Let's go. He's looking good though. The man is in shape.
Actual changes being overlaid on to the world of Classic. Now, Steven, the absolute legend over on Twitter, has found some terrain changes in a lot of detail done to the WDT chunk MAI2. We're not going to go into the detailed semantics of Datamined and the name nomenclature of these words. We are going to just go over to what's actually changed.
Yeah, this is like, it's too much coding speak for me, so I was just like, I'm looking at the pictures. I'm looking at the pictures and I'm guessing that red square equals something new has been added, alright? That's my level of coding and stuff here. I'm looking at the red squares, I assume that's new content, and we're making sense of the new content.
Rivers/liquid and chunk placement on top of locations that don't actually have any terrain. So when you look at the overall map, this is the Kalimdor map, and you can see changes over in little locations in random places that don't quite really make sense on why these little locations have changes out of the blue. Same thing with Eastern Kingdoms. When you zoom in, you can see in more detail the rivers over the Eastern Kingdoms, rivers in the hinterland.
A lot of these changes, though, to me, they make sense. Like, if you look at Wetlands right now, they've added, I mean, based on these red new things, it seems like they've added one of the Turtle WoW questing hubs that we had in Wetlands that we now have on this map as well. Or at least like something in the same place as that new questing hub was in Turtle WoW. And it looks like maybe they're expanding the continent of Eastern Kingdoms all the way in the bottom right here. You can see a lot of red squares east of Red Ridge, east of Badlands, like in the water there. So that might be a new zone. It could also be something underwater.
The rivers and the whole area, mostly waterways and rivers across the map. But it doesn't really check out because it doesn't cover every river correctly. For example, in Gilneas, it covers a very small portion of it. And it doesn't even cover the whole Thranduil Pass.
And if you look all the way south right now as well, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of new red squares in Elwyn. A lot of them as well. Basically, the entire Elwyn is covered in brand new squares. The western part of Duskwood as well is covered in that as well. It seems to be following the rivers almost. What if it's some sort of a new transport system in the rivers? You can take a river boat between zones. Nah, please not. Then again, could be interesting, like a raft system. I don't think that's what's happening, but it has to mean something, you know? But also, like, what I was gonna say here is if you look all the way south right now, right next to my face camera, like right down there, you will see 4 new red squares in the middle of the ocean. That's where I'm guessing they will have Gilligam's Isle or something, like a new isle, a new Stranglethorn Vale type isle.
It only covers the bridge itself. So it's clearly not just rivers, but it is changes to the terrain around water-based location. And for Retail WoW, it again doesn't really check out correctly on why there would just be random riverway changes across the map. What are they adding boats and swimming mechanics in high detail to the world of retail. That would be interesting, but I doubt that's it. But when you overlay these changes onto the map of Classic WoW, it looks a lot better. Retail, vanilla. Now in retail, the southern half of the map is overlaid correctly, but the northern half of the map, because of the changes of terrain, you have to shift all the circles upwards. So when we lower the opacity, it's a 1-to-1 on the lower half, but a slightly different change on the northern half of the Eastern Kingdom. Same thing in Kalimdor. In Kalimdor, there's almost no changes. It's just a straight 1-to-1. Kalimdor is almost overlaid correctly because the changes to Kalimdor are minimal in terms of shifting the landmass and more so about adding new landmass and changing the existing zones in Cataclysm. But now we are going to zoom in to the Eastern Kingdoms and we are going to discuss all the changes on the map, on each part of the map one by one. So we are going to start with, in this context, Gilneas. Gilneas is just a tiny nub here, and the changes to Gilneas very likely just means they've started expanding the zone itself. Keep in mind that just because some map stuff has been data mined by Steven, something related to River/Liquid, when I look at the rest of the chunk placements, feels like they may extend the zones next to Burning Steppes, Red Ridge Mountains, and Badlands. Now, is this a Classic plus chunk slipped into retail client, or are we getting a new zone in the future of Midnight/Last Titan patch? This new chunk also exists on the Kalimdor.
This one right here is likely going to be, like I just said, one of the 2 new isles. I think this is also on Turtle WoW, where the Isle of Gilligim, and there was like 2 isles here. Gilligim's Isle and something else Isle.
The continent. Realistically though, we know that the Last Titan is mostly Northrend. It's been teased a lot. They literally said this in interviews and discussion. We know that there's going to be a large portion of Northrend in the Last Titan. So it doesn't make sense there would be so many changes to the existing world if this is in context a Northrend based expansion. Unless the Last Titan is shifted drastically based on my last understanding of what was happening in the Last Titan. The Last Titan is a Northrend based expansion, so why would they change all of this in retail World of Warcraft? Hence why I think this was the Classic plus backhand data getting mixed up with Steven doing a lot of data mines based on retail WoW. He's a retail WoW focused data miner for the most part. I think all of these changes are Classic plus. Now, Gilneas, as you guys can see here, changes. Fenris Isle is a very minimally utilized zone, and the castle there, the zone there, the NPCs there, I could see changes happening here in some detail. You have Ravenholt here, and you have this whole river segment right here. I could see this because my circle wasn't the highest quality of circling. This would also be covering Durnholt Keep. In Classic, it would be covering Durnholt Keep because of the way I did my circle. If I was to like put this back down and lower the opacity, if my circle was to be done correctly, it would be, if only I could draw. You know what, I'm not allowed to draw anyways. It would be right here. It would be covering Durnholt Keep. So they're looking at making changes to quite a few things. South Shore included, Tarren Mill included, the connection to, in this context, the entirety of Andorhal, as well as the connection between Eastern Plaguelands and Western Plaguelands. There's quite a lot of changes being done to the entire Eastern.
This could also be that they are changing the connection between Eastern and Western Plaguelands for this to be the entrance to that zone. You know, on the map right now, if you look at your map, there is like a zone north of Eastern Plaguelands and northeast of Western Plaguelands. This could be the entrance to that zone. That's what this looks like to me. Because up there you have a zone, and this would be the only place where I can see that having an entrance. It would be right there. I mean, you can even see like a little bit of what that zone would look like on this map by Eben as well.
Kingdom's location. But the interesting part is New Avalon itself is not being touched, which means New Avalon is not a launch experience. Again, take everything with a grain of salt. We don't know what the actual full launch zones are. Just because some parts of the map changes were data mined doesn't mean every part of the map change is going to be data mined. This is changes to the map and not additions to the map. So if they're adding a whole new zone here, it may not have shown up in the data mines that Steven found. Now, we're going to go down to Menethil, right? They are quite literally redoing. This over here is Ironforge Airport, right? You know, the Dunmorrow Airport, whatever you want to call it. They're making changes over here to the waterway, the waterfall, from Loch Modan into Wetland. The entirety of this part of Wetlands, where there's like there's a huge empty mountain area, the airport. I mean, that's what I said, chat. This whole area and Menethil Harbor, as well as Thranduil Pass, but not the entire riverway here. just Thrandle Pass itself, which means there's quite a few changes happening to Wetland from the get-go. It's going to be expanded. I expect that Manifold Harbor is going to get become a new major hub for the Alliance, expansions too in this content.
No, please. I mean, well, okay, major hub. I want it to be like the hub of Wetlands, but I don't want it to be like a new capital city or much bigger of a place than it currently is. Because we already have Ironforge right next to it, right? We have Ironforge, which is super close. You can just go there for the major stuff. I think they're doing what Turtle WoW did, because they added a lot of stuff on this mountain right here, including a new questing hub over here as well.
Text, boatways.
They could give us old Ironforge and tie that into like a tunnel, I guess. Yo, I actually believe, what if there's a tunnel? Because right now, if you're a night elf going to Ironforge, you have to go through all of Wetlands. What if they're adding a tunnel system through this mountain, like old Ironforge, so they can have a Menethil Harbor. They can have whatever you want to call, like the city in the mountains here, like Turtle WoW has, and then you have a tunnel going in between that questing hub and Ironforge itself. Bro, I mean, I think even a lot of those tunnel systems are already there from the old Ironforge things.
New locations, and things of that nature. But despite the wetlands being full of water, the entirety of the wetlands isn't covered. So saying it's a full water-based things, or just some slight water changes makes no sense, because why would you only cover half of the water? What about this water? What about all the other rivers? So you only cover a small part of Loch Modan and not the entire other lake of Loch Modan. What about all the water and the frozen lakes in Don Moreau? What about the entire lake in Red Ridge? The changes of saying it's just water-based, it's not...
Yeah, I don't think it's just water-based either. So here we can see, it's just, it's water-based in Elwyn Forest and Westfall and Darkshore, and even into Stranglethorn Vale as well. There has to be something there, man. Like, why is that centered around the water? Especially if you look at Stranglethorn Vale. Like, it's literally something about the water there when it comes to Stranglethorn Vale. It's following the water so perfectly. It leads me to believe there's going to be a raft system or something in that water, but then again, how's that going to work, right? There has to be something, though, in that
anything major doesn't check out because there is so much water left untouched. That is why I don't think it is just some simple...
And as you can see here as well, this is the new zone that I'm talking about. Like, there's a lot of land mass and a mountain mass as well that is unused to the right of Red Ridge and to the right of what would be Burning Steppes, Blasted Lands, Badlands, you know.
Water changes, because why isn't the Swamp of Sorrow's entire coast being covered? Why isn't this entire lake water area of Voodoo Bay being covered? There are lakes here.
I think the reason why is it has to do with, like, if you look here at Stranglethorn Vale, it stops where it goes into the water. It connects with the main water, and it's like a river, but the river itself connects to the main water. That's what I think. That's a crackpot tinfoil hat. But I mean, it literally stops where the river meets the water. By the water, I mean the stormy seas of Azeroth, or whatever this water is called. You can see the pink stuff here, the overlay. It stops where this river runs into the mainstream water. And then it follows the river up here as well, Still River, and it goes out to the water right here, and also through Elwyn into Red Ridge. It's just very interesting.
Covered. Why isn't this entire lake water area of Voodoo Bay being covered? There are lakes here.
Because those are not connected to the main river, to the main water. This one is connected to the main water. If you look at the one like north here, it's in the river connecting to the main water. So it looks like rivers that are connected to the main water for some reason.
There
plus
are
other
lakes
things.
here. There's water in this zone. There's lakes here, water here. The entirety of I don't remember the full name.
Yeah, but that one is also once again not linked to the main water.
Of the Scholar Man's water area, Caldaro, is literally untouched. What about
Not
the rest
linked
of
to the
Lake
main
Fenris?
water.
The entire
Also not linked to the main water.
coast of South Shore. What about the rest of Thranduil Pass over here? What about this entire ocean area, this area here? What about the lakes inside Tirisfal Glades? And then going over to Kalimdor, the same thing. Saying it's a water-based change and only doing in this context how...
Here as well though, it looks like they're following the river. The water base changed. The water base track for a river that connects to the main water. Because this river as well, it connects to the main water north of Booty Bay or in Durotar. You see where the pink stuff ends? It's where the river connects to the main water. And then it follows this river connection to the main water all the way north to where that river stops. And through, over here as well, through Ashenvale, it follows this river as long as it's connected. And it's a river that is connected to the main water. I have no idea why, but so far that's the pattern. For both this one and the one in Elwyn at least.
Of the Alliance hub, but all of these rivers, okay, cool. But what about all the lakes in the Barren? Why didn't you do the entire...
Because they're not connected.
...lake in Mulgore? What about Theramore? This entire area is completely untouched. The entire coast of, in this context, Teneris untouched. Feralis has a huge waterway and swimmable area. Same thing with Desolus. Same thing over here with Darkshore and Ashenvale. Saying it's just random water-based changes when there's little water and like waterfalls all over Darkshore that aren't being touched. There's a lot of naysayers and people that dismiss things. All of Teldrassil, so many riverways and water. I think these are changes. Okay, what about Hyjal? Hyjal has very minimal waterways. Why are there being changes done to Hyjal? This is a vanilla Hyjal. Look at this. Now, getting back on track, we're going to go further down past Menethil and past the changes to Wetland. Because, you know, over here you have Grimbatol. There's probably going to be a new zone here. Whether that zone is in at launch or not is irrelevant. We know that we're going to get a Grimbatol zone for Classic Plus. Whether that's a launch feature is debatable. It doesn't matter. But going down here, the entire eastern half of Redridge is being completely redone. Parts of the Burning Steps are being redone. And then over here, they're literally redoing the entire area to the east. This is likely going to be 1 or 2 new zones. I don't know, but the size of it, if it is a singular zone, is one of the bigger zones in World of Warcraft. And just to showcase that, I'm going to draw the shape of... One second. Keep in mind, this is a rough drawing, but I'm going to take this new zone that I drew, and I'm gonna take this new zone that I drew, and I'm gonna show you guys the size of it. This new zone is almost bigger than Alwyn, Westfall put together, as well as parts of Stormwind. This new zone is almost double the size of Stranglethorn Vale. It is bigger than literally the Blasted Lands, Zul'Gurub, Deadwind Past, and most of Swamp of Sorrows. So this new zone will likely be split into 2 to 3 zones, and I'm not sure exactly the size of it because it's kind of an interesting placement on the map. But I think this is going to be a zone like this, one over here, and then another zone over here. Either Redridge is going to be expanded into a new zone, so there's going to be Redridge, and then Eastern, whatever this zone is called, the last bastion of Stormwind or the human control against the Blackrock Orcs, the Trolls, whatever faction. And again, we have an island over here. Now, this island could be, in this context, Gilligam's Isle or the Isle of Lepidus. It's likely one of those two, but when I overlay the map on top, it is neither island. It feels like in this context, because this is the map size 1-to-1 placed on top. Again, keep in mind that the zones don't really like check out correctly because of how they're placed, but it looks to be more akin in this context to the Isle of Dr. Lepidus instead of Gilligam's Isle. Now, technically, it could be either.
It could be both of them. Maybe they're adding in both of them. But then again, on Turtle as well, I think one of the islands was good and the other one was trash. So if we just get the good one and maybe done slightly differently as well, I'll be happy, bro. We don't need both of them.
And it could be Zandalar, as you guys can see.
It could be Zandalar. And to be honest, I kind of want it to be Zandalar. As long as it's a vanilla... how can we... Vanillafied? I don't know, like, I wanted to be a vanilla WoW version of Zandalar, not BFA, because BFA Zandalar was ass, in my humble opinion. I did not like that zone, but I do love Zandalar as a concept, so if they give us Zandalar and do it in a good way, I am fully down.
OG Zandala from the old maps. But I don't know if they would add Zandala back from a map and ideation of the game world all the way back from when the level cap was level 70, Outland was in the game, and the Emerald Dream was in the game. When the Caverns of Time had been open in Classic, and there was meant to be Caverns of Time dungeons and raids, you have the Dragon Isles. You have this very interesting place here, where if you guys look at the map, the dwarves don't even have a capital on this. Well, they do, it's over here, but it's kind of interesting. You then, of course, have Kultiris, Zuldar, all these islands, Tol Barad, and, you know, Shadowfang Keep and the Gilneas, which is going to be added later on. But this version of the map, I don't know if they're going to add this Zandala to Classic Plus at least at launch. So based off that, I'm not saying it's not Zandala. I'm saying I would be surprised if it is Zandala. But it is a genuine possibility that this island here is Zandala. But it is an uncertainty. I can't tell you guys what it is. I can't even predict what it is, because this island does not exist in game. Yes, there's 2 islands here in the alpha files, Lepidus and Gilligan's Isle, these 2 here. It could be either one, it could be Zuldar, it could be anything else. And of course there is one final change over here, which I need to raise the opacity of. And this is a change to the area outside of Booty Bay. Or it could be Booty Bay itself, but I don't think it is Booty Bay. Again, the whole river, the whole quest line area starting at Northshire Abbey, going all the way around, all of Duskwood, and down to Stranglethorn Vale, as well as Zul'Gurub. All of this shows to me that there's going to be a lot of changes to the leveling experience, the questing experience, the characters, the NPC storylines, the Defiers of Brotherhood storyline is probably going to be expanded as well. Everything that this shows to me is that the game world is only going to get bigger and bigger and better and better. All of this is still untouched. This is just what's likely going to be added to the game world at effectively launch. So based off of this, it looks like there's going to be changes over here, the entrance to Hyjal, as well as the area between Ashenvale and Ajara. Looks like there's going to be changes to Orgrimmar and the entire Orgrimmar Riverway. So the Orgrimmar and the Barrens, and then a bit of Orgrimmar itself, its eastern entrance over here. They may actually add a bridge that connects directly to Ajara here. So instead of connecting to Ajara from this way over here, when you leave Orgrimmar from here, you can go straight up here into Ajara, straight over here to Ashenvale, or straight over here into the Barrens. There'll probably be an expansion over here, or the Zeppelin Tower over here. Ashenvale, whole waterway chains. This is over here is Demonfall Canyon. Very easy ideation, very easy addition to just say Demonfall Canyon is going to be in game. The Orcs versus the Night Elves, that storyline. Over here, I kind of was expecting more changes to Stone Talon Vale in the launch of the game. Now
I also feel like I was expecting more zones to be changed than just this, so maybe this is just for like major changes, where they're adding questing hubs, they're adding cities, they're doing something massive. Because so far, I'm expecting way more things to have changed than what they're showing here with these like red squares, whatever you want to call them.
Again, keep in mind, this is just what's been data mined. This isn't every single guaranteed leak, every single guaranteed change, every single guaranteed addition to C+. Steven data mined some information. He data mined a few zones. He's data mined other things. For example, you get a Dwarf Bear mount from the Vanilla WoW trailer. You get a Cat Skyborn mount, a brand new race that is likely going to be a Classic Plus race instead of a Retail WoW race. So you get the Skyborn and Adventurer Dwarf Armor Cosmetics, the Shendorai, not the Sindorai, not the Queldorai, not any of the other elves, the Shendorai, a brand new elf race, and some kind of dwarf adventure, whatever. So when you buy the Epic or Heroic Edition of C+, because we know for a fact Camelot has an Epic and a Heroic Edition, and you get the Epic Edition, the $100 version, you're going to get some mounts for retail, you're going to get 3D Adventurer Cape, 2 mounts, Shendorai Windmill, tabards for Lordaeron and Shendorai, and Skyborn House Decor. So when you buy Classic Plus Epic Edition, you get shit for retail. Which means going forward, when you buy shit for retail, you get some Classic Plus unlocked. So you unlock a mount in Classic Plus, which tells me we're likely going to be getting in Classic Plus a mount tab and achievements. I can't confirm the achievements, but just based off of the fact that you can now buy things that give you mounts. They're not going to give you 50 mounts you have to hold in your inventory or your bank. You're getting a mount tab or a collections tab. That could also imply transmog for C+, but I don't want to say that is a guarantee of transmog for C+.
I think both transmog and the mounts, transmog transmog plus transmog tab, more mounts plus a mounts collection tab, and achievements are probably coming. At least mounts and transmogs, and the reason why isn't that anyone's asked for it, but it's a super easy way for Blizzard to make money. They can now start selling and pumping a bunch of cosmetics into the game that people are going to buy, and they can now make way more money. They can sell transmogs, they can sell wings, they can sell backpacks, they can sell full-on transmog sets, they can sell mounts, they can sell ground mounts, they can sell flying mounts that can't even fly. They can sell just about everything they want to now, as long as it's cosmetic, right? Because as long as it's cosmetic, they can use the argument that, you don't have to buy it, and they're just gonna pump it full with a bunch of shop stuff, because that way, they make more money, and they make this game to make money. So I fully believe that is coming, and I feel like I have some very good arguments for why they are happening as well.
I don't know what that means. I don't want to sit here and give conjecture that's probably false. So a mount tab, achievements, and if we're getting a mount tab, we're getting a collections tab, which means toys and pets, and we're probably getting the key ring from SOD getting added into like a built-in system for the game, so once you get a key, it doesn't just sit, whatever bullshit, you have a proper key ring. So we can guarantee that this is the Classic Plus mount, and for retail the same cat model is encrypted on retail, but there's a diff Classic version and a diff retail version, probably low poly for Classic. Right off the rip, Camelot has something to do with the Shendarai and some kind of dwarf, which is very hard to get a conjecture or give a proper deep dive onto, because we can't effectively data mine monetary cosmetics without the images showcasing what's actually coming. So everything you see here is the conjecture of Steven on the data he has pulled. 2 transmog, adventure cape, 2 mounts, a windmill, tabards for Lordaeron and Shendarai, which is wild, and then the house decor. There is also, of course, this is the retail version of the Classic Bear, the Veteran's Adventurer's Loyal Companion mount. This is what the bear looks like for retail. I don't know what the classic version of this bear looks like, but this is the retail version of the bear. And Kai goes in every single goddamn retail or Classic Plus comment section. This is the Rexar transmog. Again, not fully data mined, but this is the Rexar transmog that is also coming to the Epic Edition. Now, the last thing I want to say about the Epic Edition is we likely will be paying for 3 days early access. Not a guarantee, but I wouldn't be surprised if you buy the Epic Edition, you get 3 days early access. I am not trying to say it is a guarantee, but I am telling you that if we do go into C+ with an Epic Edition,
it is just such an easy way for Blizzard to make a lot more money as well, because they can just be like, 3 days early access, pay for it or you don't. And for example, you pay $13 for 1 month of game time. But if they sell you 3 days of early access, they can keep that behind $30, for example. And a lot of people will pay those $30 to play the game 3 days earlier. So they basically make 2.5 months worth of subs for 3 days. That's a good deal. That is extracting value from each customer, which is what they as a business, they want to do. They're looking at the overall money they can make, but they're also looking at how much money can we make per customer that we have.
For $100 worth of value, there has to be some value for the $100. And knowing that how much Classic players swipe and how willing people are to open their wallet and buy things, I think 3 days early access would result in millions upon millions of pre-orders and would make Blizzard very profitable and very happy. So I think we are getting 3 days early access, because everybody bitched and moaned about retail, and in the context of Midnight WoW, it sold amazingly well. So I think that genie is out the bottle, and you cannot stuff a genie back in the bottle. Monkey's paw curse, this is the future. But we are going to go back onto the map changes, because again, tying back into the retail version of it, if they're doing changes to all the water, they're not changing enough of the water. The whole lake unchanged, water unchanged, the whole lake unchanged, this unchanged, this unchanged. This entire river system, it goes all the way around unchanged. Loch Madan is kind of screwed up, all of this. Why aren't they changing any of the other rivers? This is a river right here. This isn't a river here, but this is a river. What about this lake here? What about this waterway here? What about this water over here in Stormwind? This river is getting touched. But what about this water here? If they're touching the water in Zul'Gurub, why aren't they touching this? What about all of this? What about this water area here? What about this area here? Same thing with the Kalimdor version. Everyone's saying it's just water stuff, What about all the other water changes to Darkshore? What about the rest of Ashen Vale? All the water in Stone Talon Vale? All of this, the water here, the rest of Mulgore, this, literally the entirety over here of Thousand Needle, Theramore, this whole riverway here, it doesn't make sense that this is just about rivers. This is very clearly about Classic's world map. And I think this is the future. I think this is the launch. Gilneas, some changes to Fenris Isle, maybe a new faction here. Changes to Anderhall and the connection between Eastern Plaguelands and Western Plaguelands.
I think I've heard the words water and river more times in the last half hour than I've heard in my entire life until now. That's kind of crazy.
Some changes to the hinterlands here. I don't know exactly what changes this over here entails, but some changes. South Shore, Taran Mill, and Ravenholt. Changes to Thranduil Pass, changes to Menethil, huge changes to most of the wetlands and Lochmadan's entry to the wetlands. A massive 2-part zone and a full revamp of Eastern Redridge. Massive changes coming to the entire human starting experience and zone additions changes. And big changes coming to Barrens and Orgrimmar's connecting way. Whether that means there's going to be the Zeppelin Tower here, boats that connect over to a new island somehow. Maybe they're adding Orgrimmar Harbor here, which would be wild. Why wouldn't they add it over here? Who knows what the plan here is? Like, who knows what the plan is? Mulgore changes over here into Feralis. Over here, giant changes. This area over here. And some changes over to Unguro. A brand new island. Changes to the area north of Booty Bay. But this is effectively what looks to be the launch changes. Not every new zone, but the launch zones of, in this context, C+. Now, I know early access in an MMO and stuff like that may be a turnoff, but with how many cool changes are coming to the world map, and how cool the overall information is, the fact that we're getting new islands, and this is only the beginning of the data mining. It's not even all the data mine. It is just some mild data mines as of right now. This could be a whole brand new event, Naga invasion, demon invasion, showing all the parts that demons are spawning portals in, showing the parts that are being besieged by the Scourge or the Burning Legion. Who knows what any of these squares could be. But I'm effectively betting good money that C+ is going to launch with a lot more content than we are aware of, and that Phase 1 after launch will also be a brand new zone. I think this is the launch, with Gilneas being opened, and Gilneas is a zone appearing here however it looks. And then I think either we get New Avalon, or the first 1 or 2 phases is them not opening new zones in this context, but them adding and doing a lot of changes, and then revamping all of, for example, Molten Core or Blackwing Lair, adding new wings or new bosses or new world bosses to the map. But I hope you guys are excited as I am, because this is just the beginning of leak season. Keep in mind, we are less than 27 days away from BlizzCon. In 27 days, every leak, every tease, every secret is going to be blown wide fucking open. We're getting the release date. We are getting the information. We are getting to finally step foot into Classic Plus, whether that's the beta, open access, early access, I don't know what they're gonna do. But C+ is literally right around the corner. And I can't wait to dive into all of this with all of you. So thank you for watching this deep dive. If you liked it, like and subscribe. If you hated it, understandable. Dislike and subscribe or be a dedicated hater. Leave a creative hate comment. Don't half-ass it. Thank you all for watching. Ebonhard out.
All right, damn, that was a cook. Aye, you heard it here first, boys. We're getting new waters and new rivers in Classic Plus. Words spoken by Eben. So, hey, I can't wait to see what those waters and what those rivers turns up to be. Maybe it's gonna be less Classic Plus and more Classic Waters and Classic Rivers. Hey, that was a good video though. I can't wait to see what the new zones and what the changes are gonna be. Less of a, fake leak this time. This is actually a leak, by the way, and the data mining information, which is really interesting. It's just we don't have any in-game stuff. This is the closest we get to in-game changes, and an early look at what could be happening in Classic Plus. So, data mining is interesting. It's not for everybody. Maybe some people get put off when it comes to data mining. You want to enter Classic Plus with more I don't know, mysteries and stuff, in which case I hope you don't watch leak videos in the first place, because why would you? But hey, it is what it is. This was a good video, and it was just great to get somebody to get the Steven tweet and the Steven data mining and put it into pure understandable English, because I don't speak coding. Either way, leave your thoughts in the comments down below as well. Which of these changes are we expecting to see in Classic Plus? What are you thinking is going to happen? Let me know in the comments. The link to Eben's video will be in the video description, and if you enjoyed the video here, leave a like down below. It really helps out. Alright, peace out. Bye. Bye-bye.